Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Is my voice audible, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat
Are you
Pranam.
ready, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today, we embrace Suvarna Gaurahari Prabhu, who will be sharing the nectar from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrtha, chapter number 60, titled Seattle. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Over to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, do you want me to share the Lilamrtha pages, or you will share by yourself, Prabhuji?
I'm not planning to share. I'll just speak.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanitam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Badam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamsha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prasharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Devi Chatarani Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Premapadaiti Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurapise Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tattakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanasute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nukum Gurdevacharam Pangam Nandeti Giram Vatam Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madham Sri Chaitanya Vishwam Hare Krishna. So welcome all the devotees for the Wednesday morning Lilamrtha class. So we'll discuss some pastimes of Srila Prabhupada in Seattle. So this is also a long chapter. So we'll see how much ever possible in today's class. So Srila Prabhupada started his preaching in 1965 from New York in America. And it is now 1968 and Srila Prabhupada has come to Seattle. So the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and the initial disciples from New York, they started traveling to different places actually. So some of them went to San Francisco and started a center there. And then they called Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada came. And from there they went, the disciples went to Los Angeles and they started a center there. And they called Prabhupada. Prabhupada went there. And similarly, some disciples of Srila Prabhupada had gone to Seattle. And from there, they invited Srila Prabhupada, please come. So they, getting the invitation, Srila Prabhupada immediately accepted. This is how preaching expanded eventually. So Prabhupada made the first center in New York, and from there trained up devotees, and then those devotees, they started preaching centers, and then Prabhupada started traveling to those places. So Prabhupada was a very visionary leader. He knew the science of how to expand Krishna consciousness. Right? So there leaders, real leaders are those who produce other leaders. So Srila Prabhupada produced many leaders in the initial days itself. So Prabhupada trained them, empowered them, gave them some wonderful tasks by which the devotees also got the satisfaction of doing something wonderful for Krishna. So Prabhupada was a very leader. I think nobody is useless in this world. Only a proper leader is lacking. Yojakas tatra durlabha. Ayogya purusho nasti. Yojakas tatra durlabha. There's one Subhashita which says that there is no useless person in this world. Ayogya purusha nasti. Yojaka tatra durlabha. A person who can engage him properly, he is lacking. Such people are lacking in this world. So if there's an able leader, he can engage even a most fallen person in some useful work. So Srila Prabhupada, he picked up people from his preaching, and although some of them were very low and they are from the hippies background, some were cultured, some were from the hippies background, some were educated, some were not educated. But Prabhupada knew the art of engaging everybody in some meaningful work. So Srila Prabhupada trained up these leaders, and they went to Seattle, especially Upendra Prabhu and Garga Muni, these two disciples of Srila Prabhupada, who got initiated in the early days in New York in 1966. So they actually went to Seattle, and they started a center. They started some preaching activities, some kirtans, some back to God distribution. So Prabhupada means they were preaching, and then they rented a place and they made a center. Then they called Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada came and he stayed there for a couple of days. So let's see what happens. So Prabhupada writes, we want to open hundreds of centers so that people may take up Krishna consciousness. And we need many enthusiastic boys and girls for carrying on this great mission of Srila Prabhupada. Great mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada had told this quote in March 1968. And now it is September 1968. Prabhupada is in Seattle. So Prabhupada said that we want hundreds and thousands, many, many enthusiastic boys actually. Prabhupada said we want to open hundreds of centers. To do that, we need many, many enthusiastic boys and girls. So Prabhupada didn't discriminate in preaching. Who is qualified, not qualified. Anybody can preach. Both boys and girls could preach Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is recruiting such people, enthusiastic people. And Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had not mentioned Seattle, nor New York, nor Los Angeles. He had just mentioned that the people of the West, they get this message. So they get this message of Krishna consciousness. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati specifically had not mentioned anything. But they just mentioned the Western world. And Prabhupada chose New York and then the American continent, because that was the happening place at that time. In 1960s, New York was the place where things were happening. Business was happening, capital, the top brains were there. And also there is a revolution wherein they called hippie movement, or the counterculture, which had come. So when his guest Partha Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada disciple, had come to our temple, he was mentioning that how this counterculture, Prabhupada came at the right time when that revolt or counterculture was happening at that time. So Prabhupada reached at that time to America, and people were ready. They were hungry for exploring spirituality. So, and what is Seattle? Seattle is a place where aircraft manufacturing, especially Boeing aircrafts, which are very huge aircrafts, they are being manufactured, and it has a population of 5 lakh people, 5,60,000 people, and several good colleges. So Prabhupada felt that there is good opportunity. So Prabhupada took this opportunity and went. So they found a room for Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada was staying there, and then used to come to the temple room for doing classes. That's how the initial setup was. There is a place where temple room was there, and then place where Prabhupada used to be accommodated. And daily Prabhupada will come, give lecture and go back, give lecture and go back. So in this way it was happening. So Prabhupada sat down in his room, and there was harmonium kept. And Prabhupada asked, "Shall I play?" And devotee said, "Yes, Prabhupada." And Prabhupada sang the song, Gauranga bolite habe, Pulaka sharira, Hari Hari bolite, Nayane bhavenira. So Prabhupada sang the song as if in a crying tune. And many of the people could not understand the Bengali, but they knew that it is some devotional song glorifying the Lord. So Prabhupada sang this song, and then he explained the meaning also. When will the time come? While chanting Hare Krishna, there will be tears in the eyes. When the mind is completely purified, free from material anxieties and desires, then I shall be able to understand Vrindavan and the love of Radha and Krishna. Then my spiritual life will be successful. So Prabhupada sang this song. And then the room, actually the temple room, was very nicely made by one devotee called as Narayana Rishi Das. So his name was Narayana Rishi Das. He made a beautiful woodwork in the temple room. He had made an altar with different stages. On the top was Jagannath deities, and then Panchatattva deities in the middle, and then there were photos of Srila Prabhupada also on the altar. And there is a Vyasasana made for Srila Prabhupada. So, and there are several paintings also. So there is a painting specifically of Krishna and Arjuna on the chariot. And the Vyasasana was also very nicely made. It was 3 feet tall, so that Prabhupada was in a high pedestal, and then people are sitting down. And the back of the seat was made of blue velvet colored cloth. And the seat itself was gold velvet. Below was gold velvet and back was blue velvet. And there's a golden embroidered pillow on which Srila Prabhupada was sitting. So Prabhupada started, actually when Prabhupada, one of the days when Prabhupada entered, and all the devotees are standing at the door welcoming Srila Prabhupada. And when Prabhupada came, and everybody started going down, they're putting their head to the ground, except one lady. And her name was Joy. And she was very new. She was so new to Krishna consciousness. She didn't know anything. Just that day morning only she had come. And she was not bowing down. But when Prabhupada passed nearby her, she also bowed down. So this was the effect of Srila Prabhupada's presence. So Prabhupada started doing kirtan, and this new girl who had come, she had made a nice beautiful garland of roses and rose petals, and she wanted to offer it to Srila Prabhupada. She had heard from somebody that Swamiji is from India and he is a great saint. So she had got some garland to offer him. And when she offered that garland to Prabhupada, so it was very nicely symmetrically made. But when it was offered to Prabhupada, the symmetry went off because the flowers went up and down. And then she felt a little embarrassed. So, and she felt embarrassed and sat down. And then Prabhupada said, thank you very much, and acknowledge her gift to him. So in this way, so she felt very nice. And she also says that I felt very nice meeting Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada was very humble, she mentions. So this is what she noted. She heard from Srila Prabhupada that lecture, and Prabhupada was always quoting, my Guru Maharaj. My Guru Maharaj told me to come to America. My Guru Maharaj told me to preach. And Prabhupada was quoting references from Shastras and explaining. This requires humility. Humility means to accept that I am insignificant and God is great. So becoming an instrument in the hand of the superiors in God, that is humility. So a proud person, he generally says, I tell this, or this is my opinion. So he tries to put his own opinions. But a humble person repeats the message of the previous acharyas. So he recognized this humility. So, and she had a question. And she says, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, how is it that this universal presence, which is humanly inconceivable, at least to me at this time, how can it have the form of Radha and Krishna? So actually she was attending some programs of impersonalists. She had the impersonal conception of God and universal presence, universal consciousness, such kind of consciousness she had. But she could not grasp the concept that God can be person and God can come in two forms, Radha and Krishna. So this was a little inconceivable to her. So Prabhupada explained, by Krishna's mercy, you can understand. You cannot make the sun rise. Similarly, you cannot make God appear before you to answer your doubts. So we cannot demand Krishna to come in front of us. Just like we cannot make the sun rise. So when Prabhupada gave this analogy, it struck her. She says, how come Prabhupada chose this analogy? Because just a couple of days back, she had gone to a mountain. She was sitting on a mountain top. Early morning, before sunrise, she went there. She was sitting and she was thinking, I will make the sun rise now. I will make the sun rise. And when the same sun rose, she said, see, I have made the sun rise. And the whole day she was there on the top of the mountain. And when in the evening, when the sun set, then she realized, I cannot make the sun stay for long. So she had done this experiment on top of the mountain. And she was wonderstruck. How could Prabhupada choose this particular analogy? That you cannot make the sun rise. Similarly, you cannot demand God to come in front of us. And she was like surrendered. If many times devotees have experienced that Prabhupada spoke very appropriately to the person. I was hearing a Prabhupada memory by His Holiness Bhakti Sundar Goswami Maharaj. Maharaj says that when he met Srila Prabhupada, okay, a long story of how he met in South America. And Srila Prabhupada, when he met him, he heard Prabhupada's lectures, he got convinced he wanted to take initiation. And when the day of initiation came, so he had memorized all the vows, the 4 related principles and chanting vows. When he came to Prabhupada, he told Prabhupada, and Prabhupada gave the name. Your name today will be Jagat Chakshu Das. And Prabhupada explained that Jagat means universe, Chakshu means eyes. Jagat Chakshu means God sees everything in this universe and nothing is hidden from God. So Prabhupada explained this meaning to all the devotees who were assembled there. And then he specifically turned to this Prabhuji who was taking initiation and said, he looked into the eyes of him and said, so you cannot hide anything from God. He looked into his eyes and he spoke very seriously. And Prabhuji felt, oh, Prabhupada knows that I have done some mistake. And other devotees also started thinking, kya kiya isne? What he has done? Has he done something wrong? So then after that, this Jagat Chakshu Das Prabhuji, he was thinking, and then he realized that just a couple of days back, he went into the Rajbhog kitchen and there were nice sweets kept there, and he had stolen some of the sweets and eaten them. So Prabhupada, just after 2 days, the initiation was there, and then Prabhupada told, you cannot hide anything from God. God is watching you. And this way, Srila Prabhupada hit the point very strongly. So at other times also, some people are coming to his class and then they were thinking they are God. So that's an impersonal conception. That's what they were taught by the yogis. And Prabhupada, he looked into one of the person's eyes and he said, you are not God, you are a servant of me. And that person was like shocked. How does Prabhupada know that I think I am God? So, and that devotee later on became His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. So in the book Watering the Seed, Maharaj writes this story in the beginning. So in this way, Prabhupada knew the heart of the disciple, of the student, and used to speak appropriately what they had to hear. So then he said, but you should just associate with these nice boys and girls here. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Eat Krishna prasadam. Study my book scrutinizingly. And engage yourself in a little service. And then the Lord will reveal himself to you from within your heart, in his own time, by his own sweet will, with all his name, fame, form, pastimes, paraphernalia, and entourage. So when you do service to Krishna, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela is revealed. Atah Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyaihi sevon mukhe jihvadu swayameva spuratyatah. So when you serve Krishna with your tongue, then Krishna reveals himself to us. So that's what Prabhupada told. So then, the room which Prabhupada was staying was not very convenient, so they wanted to look for another room. And they found one room and they shifted Prabhupada there. But when they entered that home, they realized this is not fit for Srila Prabhupada to stay. The painting was falling, the toilets were not clean, the tiles were falling off. And when Prabhupada looked out of the window, he could see another wall. There was another home, just at a 6 feet distance. So, and it was blocking the sunrays to come inside. It was looking like a dungeon. And then there is no bed or cot for Prabhupada to sit. There are no chairs as well. So Prabhupada went around in the home. He didn't say anything. He didn't complain much. But after some time, he said, it doesn't matter. He put his uttari on the ground and he sat down on the ground, and all disciples also sat. And Prabhupada finally broke the silence and he said, this place is not nice. Why have you brought me to this dungeon? And Prabhupada spoke clearly his expectation. Immediately 2 devotees ran from there to search new place. So Jayananda Prabhu and Naranarana Prabhu, they ran outside and they searched for several hours. And after several hours, they found one place and they wrote written for rent. So they went inside. It is a nice place, very nice open area, and it was facing the garden, lake nearby. There's a nice lawn and there's a lake nearby. So they went and spoke to the owner. He said that our somebody has come. We need a place. Can you come here and stay here? And this place was like a ground floor. So ground level. So, although it is a basement apartment, the many ground level windows made the rooms bright and sunny. So it was like a basement, but still a lot of light coming inside and rooms were neat and clean. So they made the agreement, and then next day immediately Prabhupada shifted. And when Prabhupada came to this place, he was very happy. And he was looking at the boats passing on the lake. He was looking at the garden and he was recognizing the different flowers which were there, and he was very happy. And then Prabhupada made a spiritual comment. So Prabhupada was expert in making comments. So Prabhupada said that old home was like a mother's womb, very uncomfortable. And this home is like getting out of the womb into getting freedom. I'm feeling very nice here. So there was a mirror, and in front of the mirror there was a dressing table, and Prabhupada kept his Radha Krishna deities on the dressing table and worshipped the deities there. And every morning, around early morning, 5:30, Prabhupada used to take a morning walk and used to go in the lake. And the lake was a big lake, and the circumference was several miles. And Prabhupada went walking around that. And even many young people got tired walking so much, but Prabhupada was walking. He continued walking. So in the same, he was taking his morning walk for his health, because Prabhupada had got heart attack. And then the doctor suggested that Swamiji thinks too much and he sits too much, so he should walk. If he walks, then his health will be all right. So Prabhupada walked. And then eventually they came to one place where a person was fishing with his fishing rod. And he just took out a fish that was hanging on the rope of that rod and lifted like this, and then Prabhupada was walking. So anybody wants a fish for dinner? Like this, shouting. And Prabhupada said, you enjoy. We don't eat fish, so you enjoy, Prabhupada said. Then after walking several steps, Prabhupada said, and suffer. So Prabhupada always completed his points. So in this way, Prabhupada commented and went forward. So there was a traveling Sankirtan party in that area in Seattle. And every day they used to go for Sankirtan for a couple of hours, 5-6 hours, like that. 6 to 8 hours they used to go and do Kirtan. So men in dhoti kurta, sheva had, women in saris, they used to do Kirtan. And while doing Kirtan, they will distribute Back to God magazine. And they will also give the card with the temple address and say that evening we have a talk, please come. Evening we have a lecture, please come. So like this, they used to invite people for the lecture. So, and Prabhupada liked this idea. So whole day devotees go out, do Kirtan and then distribute cards. And evening, in the temple room, many people used to come, many walk-ins. Just they walk in, and then the temple hall will be full. And Prabhupada was very happy talking to those people and lecturing to them. And Prabhupada used to answer questions. And the sessions used to go very long sometimes. So it is said that sometimes Prabhupada used to talk till 9 o'clock, 9:30, sometimes 10 o'clock, sometimes 10:30. So people are very inquisitive and somewhat challenging also. So according to their questions, Prabhupada used to answer them, or sometimes Prabhupada used to defeat them. And in this way, he was simultaneously teaching his disciples how to preach and also preaching to the new people. So it was a mixture of old devotees and freshers. So both kind of people were there, and Prabhupada was addressing both of them very. And Prabhupada did one interesting thing. Srila Prabhupada did one interesting thing in Seattle. That generally he used to begin the class by chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. But here Prabhupada started his class by chanting Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Prabhupada used to make devotees recite at least 12 times. And then with half a dozen times, Prabhupada used to make them chant around 6-7 times and then start the class. So Prabhupada wanted his devotees to learn the Sanskrit pronunciation. So Prabhupada wanted that they can pronounce and then they'll be able to quote and preach. So in this way, Prabhupada taught his disciples. And then Prabhupada had recently published Teachings of Lord Chaitanya book. So these Teachings of Lord Chaitanya had published and come in print. So Prabhupada used to make his disciples read from that book, and Prabhupada used to explain wherever required. So when they say Prabhupada made the habit of reading Prabhupada, his books also. So that's a system which is coming even now. Even every Bhagavatam class, we read Prabhupada's, we read the Sanskrit shloka, then translation and purport of Srila Prabhupada, and then we discuss based on those purports. So that's a pattern which Prabhupada designed. So this he set up in the early days itself, in 1968. Then he says that this Krishna consciousness movement has to be understood through the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. He appeared in Bengal 500 years ago, and he specifically preached the Krishna consciousness movement. To execute that order, we have come to your country. My request is that you try to understand this Krishna consciousness movement with all your knowledge scrutinizingly. Don't accept it blindly. आँख बंद करके इसको accept मत करना. Try to understand it, scrutinizingly study, and then you follow. So then Prabhupada said that you see these people chanting and dancing happily. So this dancing, don't think it is sentimental. It is actually not crazy. It is actually done by those who are most intelligent. Those who are very intelligent, they chant before the Lord. And so Prabhupada made that point. And Prabhupada gave very, very nice analogies like we are part and parcel of God. To explain this, he said that just like a screw which is disconnected from the machine has no value. Similarly, the soul which is disconnected from the Lord has no value. It cannot be happy. Similarly, the hand which is connected to the body has some value. But if the hand is disconnected from the body, it has no value and no purpose in life. Because the purpose of the hand is to serve the body. Purpose of the screw is serve the machine. Purpose of the soul is to serve God. So in this, Prabhupada beautifully explained this concept. And many young college students also used to come. And generally they had different things in the minds like drugs, and were frequently confused. And Srila Prabhupada, by his 3 years of experience in preaching in America, Prabhupada knew all probable questions a person may ask. So he was always ready with the answers. And so in the 3 years, he had already tested the preaching ground, and he knew everything. One person came and he asked that is there anything beyond the word Om, or any way to communicate with the God? Right? How is it possible? Is there something else beyond the verbal? Like when you play keyboard or piano, you say dong, dong, sound comes. So is there any way to communicate with the God? And Prabhupada said, yes, Hare Krishna. That is the way to communicate with the Lord. Like when you play the keys of the keyboard, you can produce nice music. Similarly, with chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, you can produce a nice vibration. And you don't need to understand the meaning of this. Just like a person doesn't need to know the meaning of the sounds of the piano. You just play, it's nice to hear. So it serves a purpose. It pleases the people. Similarly, just with chanting Hare Krishna mantra, you don't have to know the meaning. You may be in English, you can chant Hare Krishna in English. You can chant Hare Krishna in other languages also. But the meaning remains the same. Oh Lord, kindly engage in your devotional service. So, Prabhupada explained that chant Hare Krishna. And somebody asked, what is meditation? And Prabhupada said, what do you think meditation is? Sitting alone quietly. That fellow replied. Prabhupada said, how is it possible? How can you sit alone quietly? Right? So is there any experience that the mind is not active when you sit silently? You have to engage your mind in something. So sitting silently is not the meditation. Engaging the mind in some activity, that is meditation. And engaging the mind in service of Krishna is the highest form of meditation or samadhi. So then, someone asked if a Christian, by reading the Bible and following Jesus' words, required a spiritual master. And some people don't want spiritual master because spiritual master keep giving a lot of instructions. So people want to avoid such spiritual master so that they can be independent and do whatever they like. So this fellow is asking, Swamiji, I'm a Christian, so can I read just the Bible and don't accept a spiritual master? Prabhupada said, when you are accepting Bible, then you are accepting Jesus as your spiritual master because he has written this. So you cannot avoid accepting a spiritual master. You have to accept a spiritual master. There is no question of being without a spiritual master. But then that fellow said, but there are so many interpretations of Bible. Prabhupada said, there cannot be any interpretation in the Bible. If there is an interpretation, then there is no authority, right? Just like this watch. Everyone has called this watch. And if I call it a spectacle, that is wrong. That is misleading. It is a watch, and that I must say, this intelligence you must have, who is pseudo-spiritual master and who is real spiritual master. Otherwise, you'll be cheated. That is being done. Everyone is interpreting in his own way. So Guru means like postman. He transmits the message of the Lord as it is, without adding something or without subtracting something. He presents the philosophy as it is. So Prabhupada is telling here that if somebody is interpreting Bible in his own way, then he is not a spiritual master. He is pseudo-spiritual master because he is calling watch as a spectacle. He is interpreting Bible in his own way. So that much discrimination we should have to know who is real and who is fake. That much we should know. So that is our responsibility. So Prabhupada said that what is the difficulty in understanding Bible? So God says, let there be God, let there be creation, and there was creation. Right? God said, let there be creation, and there is creation. So what is the difficulty in understanding this? Prabhupada is asking. It is so simple. God said there will be creation, and there was creation. By His will only, everything is being created. But some people think, no, how can it be so simple? How can God create everything? Oh, there was a chunk and that exploded. There's the Big Bang. And from that Big Bang, there are many universes created. And then the life came into existence. And then the evolution of higher species of life. So that some scientists are speculating and many people are accepting it. But actually, this is not true. This is all speculation. This is not authority. This is actually mental speculation. So we should not do mental speculation, but we should accept the truth as it is. And if you want more details of how the creation happened, Prabhupada said, read Srimad Bhagavatam. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is very nicely explained. First there was sound, and from the sound came everything. Its sound is in the space or sky. And then all other elements like fire, air, fire, water, and earth became gradually one by one. And then the whole creation was made by the combination of these Pancha Mahabhutas. And then in this material world, the jivas were impregnated by the glands of Mahavishnu. So in this way, the creation is detailed, described in Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada referred that you go to read Bhagavatam. And one more person came and challenged, Swamiji, I don't feel like bowing down. Why should I bow down? There's no need for bowing down. And Prabhupada, in this another place, Prabhupada answered that if you don't feel like bowing down, start bowing down, then the feeling will come later. Because activity produces the emotions. But in this case, Srila Prabhupada answered, If you don't bow down to Krishna, then you will bow down, means nature will force you to bow down. Is it how? Prabhupada said, when you become old, you have to bow down. Right? You bow down and you carry a stick in your hand. You cannot even stand properly. So that will be very much inconvenience to you. So you have to bow down before the nature. So you have to bow down before time. When the death comes, you have to bow down. Right? When the death comes, you will not be sitting, you will be lying down, isn't it? So when disease comes, again we lie down. So old age, disease, death. In all these three situations, one has to lie down, bow down. So then Prabhupada said, anyway, you have to bow down, so choose the right place to bow down, where you'll be happy, where you can happily surrender and bow down. So where is it? Prabhupada said, that is in service to Lord Krishna. When you serve Lord Krishna and you bow down to him, then Krishna will take care of all the problems and you'll be happy. So you bow down to Krishna. Saradharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. So Krishna says, surrender to me. Man manabha madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Krishna says, that you offer obeisances to me, bow down to me. Srimad Bhagavatam says, pranamo dukkha shamnaha tam namami harim param. We are bowing down to Krishna, dukkha shamanaha, miseries will be mitigated. Tam namami harim param. So Lord Hari is so great. So in this way, bowing down to Krishna is a glorious thing. And Prabhupada explained very patiently to this person. So then, somebody is having difficulty accepting God as a person. And Prabhupada said, what is the difficulty? Your father is a person. Your father's father is a person. Your great-grandfather is a person. So if you trace back, it go to Krishna, and Krishna also is a person. So how can all these persons come from impersonal? That's not possible. So therefore, we are persons, and God is also a person, but God is a supreme person. He is not a person like us. He is supreme personality of Godhead. So then one of the students asked, if our first concern should be to serve God or Krishna, then why should there be a movement? What is the requirement for having a society, like International Society for Krishna Consciousness? We can serve God individually. Why do we need a movement? So that is a challenging question. You might get so caught up in the movement that you are forgetting about serving God. And you may get caught up in management and doing so many other activities to run the movement. One may stop preaching about God. Yeah, the Prabhupada said, why am I serving God? This movement means I am serving God. The movement itself is serving God. ISKCON itself is a service to God. What do you mean by serving? If Krishna says, you obey me, and if I say, you obey me, you obey Krishna, is that not service? And Krishna says, you obey me. Guru says, you obey Krishna. So that is service. So that's preaching. Preaching is the best service. If you preach rightly, preaching is the best service. If you preach wrongly, then it is a disservice. So there's good preaching and there's bad preaching. Good preaching means that which brings people close to Krishna. That's good preaching. And bad preaching is that which takes people away from Krishna. How, like somebody comes to a temple and there is misbehavior with him in the temple. Or somebody sees a devotee doing a mistake or something wrong. And immediately the person gets a wrong signal. Devotees are wrong. So good preaching means preaching by our example. That is good preaching, or the best preaching. Just doing lip service or speaking is not preaching. Speaking with practice, that is preaching. Those who practice, they have the adhikar to speak strongly. So in this way, Prabhupada encouraged devotees in Seattle to preach Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada went on to say that the movement means God is there, God is great, and we are all subordinate to Him. That's called Krishna consciousness movement. Because God is there, we are propagating the message of God. Our duty is to abide by the order of God. Then we are happy. The movement is simple. The same movement is preached by Lord Krishna. The same movement is preached by Lord Jesus Christ. The same movement is we are also preaching. Simply accepting the authority or the greatness of the Supreme Lord and engaging oneself. That's all. There's nothing new. Accept God and serve God. These are the two things one should do. And Prabhupada also said that see, we are preaching, and some people think that we are trying to convert. So people in the audience also used to have some fears that if we follow these Swamijis, we have to become like this. We have to shave our head. We have to wear dhoti kurta. We have to wear sadis. So there's some people are getting fearful and they're thinking that, oh, we have to chant and dance like them on the street. So they're feeling a little hesitant. So Prabhupada also answered this point. He said, you don't have to give up anything. You just have to serve Krishna and add Krishna to your life. You don't have to give up anything. So like this, many people are coming and some are putting challenging questions also to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, they were telling that, so this is unnatural to shave one's head, wear this dhoti kurta. It looks very unnatural. Why are you forcing people? And Prabhupada said, I'm not forcing anybody. I'm telling you, understand scrutinizingly your movement, and then you follow. Right? Then Prabhupada said, he said that Muslims, they preached with sword in one hand and Quran in another hand. But I'm not doing that. I'm not showing any sword. I'm just showing Bhagavad Gita. So you study, you scrutinizingly study, understand, when you get convinced, then you follow. That's what Prabhupada wanted. But on the other hand, the Muslims, they had forced people with sword. You follow or you die. That was the two options given. Prabhupada said that's for less intelligent people. But more very intelligent people, they get convinced and then they follow. So that's what I'm doing here. And if you like, you accept. Otherwise, I came here empty-handed. I shall go back empty-handed. There's nothing, no loss, no gain. Right? I have nothing to lose. I came with nothing. I'll go back with nothing. I'll book return ticket. I'll go back if you don't follow. But you try to follow. You see if it benefits you. If it benefits, why not? I'm giving an alternative here. What is the difficulty accepting our formula? Right? You don't have any God, but I'm telling, here is God Krishna. Accept him and follow him. So, and if you don't accept, I have no loss. Right? And if you accept, you gain. I don't have any gain. So loss or gain is for you only. So in this way, Prabhupada asked them, so is there any difficulty in accepting Krishna consciousness? Then audience said, no. Yes. So then why don't you take it? Take this chanting. Right? Chant Hare Krishna. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he says, when Prabhupada used to give lecture after lecture, he used to put his feet down the asana and he used to walk to his room. So at that time, Tamal Krishna Maharaj says, he used to hold Prabhupada's feet like this tightly and doesn't allow Prabhupada to move. He was so eager to have the touch of his lotus, transcendental lotus feet. He used to hold. I was so eager. I would be with both hands. I used to hold Prabhupada's lotus feet as much as I could. I would feel very torn apart when he would go to another temple. I remember sometimes after the program, he would finish eating a piece of fruit and throw the peel on the ground. And all the disciples will pounce on it and try to get a fragment of it, like puppies, like small puppies fighting for a piece of fruit. So like that. Or the disciples will like babies fighting for them. We have prasadam, Mahaprasadam of Srila Prabhupada. So these disciples of Srila Prabhupada loved Prabhupada very much, and they wanted to do anything and everything to please Srila Prabhupada. So because of their love for pure devotee, they could achieve wonderful, wonderful tasks. So in this way, we can remember the different pastimes of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, and Prabhupada's teachings, very wonderful teachings, wonderful question answers Prabhupada used to give and convince the Western audience about Krishna consciousness and make them practice Krishna consciousness. So all of us here also in our temple, we are trying to preach and bring more people to Krishna and establish Krishna consciousness very strongly in this South Bangalore through Kumar Sangalot Center. So we can also follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, do as I'm doing, and preach as I have, speak as I have spoken. So Prabhupada said that just repeating the words of Srila Prabhupada will do great benefit to this world. So let's try to take this lesson and continue our services. Hare Krishna. I'd like to pause here, and if there are any comments from any one of you, you're welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you.
Hare
Beautifully
Krishna.
narrating Prabhupada Lilamrtha. Especially one point, like how Prabhupada actually connect with the audience and holding the pulse. One example that you said in Seattle, he said, like how the screw, if it is fallen from the machine, it cannot serve the whole machine. Because Prabhupada was in Seattle, probably there were a lot of engineers. So he was trying to connect with them in their language. That's, I think that's the beauty of Prabhupada. A very beautiful project. I could really, Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. The devotees may share any other comments or reflections that you may have. Devotees' lines are unmuted.
Yeah. Any one or two devotees would like to share something?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank
Hare
you for
Krishna.
the wonderful narration of this past time. What amazes me again and again is how Prabhupada keeps everything so simple. That any layman who has absolutely no knowledge of anything also can relate to it. When you talk about the sun, you think you are making the sun rise up. So small things which everybody has different ways of interpretation. But they are very he gives very simple I would say example which can have a very lasting impact. So I mean there are many that I just really admire that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu, for your comment. Yeah. In fact, there is a whole DVD, or it's on the web, YouTube also now. Srila Prabhupada Memories, the whole channel, hundreds of videos, memories of Srila Prabhupada disciples talking about Prabhupada. So I was also going through that today morning. Just listening to different experiences of devotees, wonderful. It makes us conscious of Prabhupada. Okay.
Any other comments or reflections from devotees? Otherwise, we can end today's session with Vaishnava prayer. I think we can end the session, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you. Guys.
Thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhishya kripa sindhubhyo Didanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
For Lilamrtha ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna devotees, thank you for your attendance today, and I will end the session. We will meet again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.